All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we're going to be giving a grade for every NBA team so far throughout the first quarter of the NBA season. We're about 25-ish games into the year. It's about a quarter of the way through the season, and we're doing it today. I saw Bleacher Report put out an article a day or two ago doing this, and I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I want to do it too. So we're going to be grading every single team so far throughout the first quarter of the season here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. Link to my Twitters, all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So how we're gonna do this today is, instead of going through every team in alphabetical order like usual, I'm gonna divide the teams into certain categories in terms of the grade. So all the A plus teams will be together, all the A teams, B plus, B teams, get like that. All of them will be together. I'm going to talk about them all, I guess, at once at certain times. So I'm going to be the teacher. I'm going to be giving out all the grades throughout the first quarter. These are obviously subject to change. We might do a video like this at the end of the season. We go back and give, our grades. But yeah, and also the grades are going to be my personal opinion, and it's going to be depending on team's expectations for the season and all this stuff. Like not every team with the same exact record will all be in the same grade. Some bad teams might have good grades because of certain things. Some good teams might have bad grade, stuff like that. So yeah, now let's really get it started. So we'll start with our A plus teams that are getting an A plus so far throughout this quarter of the season. First team that's getting an A plus, the Boston Celtics, currently sitting at 20-5, second in the East. Not much more to say. They're reigning champs. They have the highest expectations in the NBA. They're coming out and they're doing it. 20-5, everything's going good. They're winning the games that they're supposed to win. Jason Tatum's having a great season. Jaylen Brown's having a great season. Porzingis is back now, and he's been playing pretty solid. Payne Pritchard is running away with 69 of the year right now. They're playing good all around. It's the Boston Celtics. There's not really any more regular season expectations for them anymore. They're going to be good in the regular season, and so far, that's what they've been doing. So they get an A plus, no notes. The second team that's getting an A plus, it's got to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're 21-4, won 21 of their first 25 games. That's amazing. They started 15-0. They have been phenomenal this season. Kenny Atkinson is making a big difference over there. So many people are playing very well. Don Mitchell is playing really well. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are playing the best basketball of their careers. The bench, guys like Karis LeVert, Ty Jerome, Georges Niang, Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro, everybody has just been playing so good. They're still a good defensive team while being a vastly improved offensive team, and they're tough to stop. They have the best record in the NBA, and they deserve an A plus because, yeah, like they really couldn't ask for much more of them so far throughout the first 25 games. So they get an A plus. Next team that's getting an A plus on the season is the Houston Rockets, currently sitting at 17-8, second in the West. They're in the Final Four of the NBA Cup. Things have been amazing for the Rockets, kind of similar to an OKC-esque type jump from last season, where they had a good year the year before, and it's like, okay, this team probably gonna be better next year, gonna be fun, and then they just shot up everybody. They shot, you know, wide up. That's what Houston's doing. Last year they were good, surprising, good, fun, young team, could be solid this year, and now they're shooting up. Now they're look like they're gonna be like a guaranteed playoff lock right now. So yeah, they've been great. Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun have been really, really good. They're one of the best defenses in the league. Amen Thompson and Tari Eason off that bench have been a killer duo. They're all bought in. Late game execution has improved a lot. That's been a big reason why they're winning a lot of games. And just things are going so well for Houston, man. So they got to get an A plus. And the last team that is getting an A plus from me is the OKC Thunder, currently sitting at 19-5, best team in the Western Conference. Things have been going great. Shea's having an MVP type season. They're doing a lot of this without Chet Holmgren, their second best player. He's only played in 10 games this season, and they're still dominating the Western Conference. J-Dub's having an all-star type year. The depth has been really, really good. They have the best defense in the league. Their defense has been absolutely elite this season. And yeah, they're sitting atop a very tough Western Conference right now. They have the highest expectations in the West coming into the season, where people thought, they're going to be number one in the West. They might be an NBA Finals team, and they're doing it. They're also in the Final Four of the NBA Cup too. So they have been very, very good. They got to get A plus. So the four A plus teams we got: the Celtics, the Cavs, the Rockets, the Thunder. Next, we're going to the teams that have an A. Not an A plus, not perfect seasons, but still very, very, very good as an A. We have three teams in here. First team that's getting an A is the LA Clippers. Clippers are currently 14-11, sitting at 6 in the West. They get an 8 because they have been Kawhi Leonard has not stepped on the court this season. Yet they still are in the playoffs in the Western Conference. They have been up there too. James Harden has been managing this game so well, having an all-star type of season. He's been great. Norman Powell has been on fire, absolute fire. Zubac is having a really good season. They're getting a lot of production from a lot of other players. Amir Coffey has really emerged as a guy for them. Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, and Terrence Mann have been pretty solid off the bench. Nick Batum still does his thing. They've been one of the better defenses in the league as well, winning games. Ty Lue doing his thing where he turns not much into something, you know? And so if they can keep this up, and now reports that Kawhi Leonard has returned to practice and all that stuff, he could be coming soon. Like, this is as much as you can ask for, really, for the Clippers, regarding without having your best player still being able to compete like this, and 25 games in, you're sitting right in the playoff mix. That's really good, especially with a team that had really low expectations. Like, no one expected this Clippers team to be that good without Kawhi Leonard this year, and now they're like this. Couldn't ask for much more from that. So Clippers, they get an A. Next team that's getting an A is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are sitting 17-8, third in the West. They are so good. They honestly probably could be getting an A plus right now. Like, I could put them in an A plus tier if I really wanted to. If I put them in A, things are going well. Jaren Jackson should be an all-star this year. He should be the all-star for the Grizzlies this season. Ja's been good when he plays. Desmond Bane hasn't really been great, which is the only reason they're not getting an A plus is because Ja and Desmond Bane haven't really fully gotten there yet. To where if those two are fully out there, they could be the number one seed in the West for sure. But like, the development and everybody that else has been playing on this team has been so good. Like, Jalen Wells is starting for this team. He's been one of the better rookies this year. Brandon Clark has still been solid. Scottie Pippen Jr. looks like an NBA player. Jay Huff looks like an NBA player. Jake LaRavia looks like an NBA player now. Santi Aldama has been very good. They're doing all this with all the injury problems. Ja Morant and Desmond Bane have only played in like half the games this season, yet it doesn't matter. They're still up there in the Western Conference. Everything has just been so good for the Grizzlies. So they absolutely get an A. They're knocking on the A plus rank door, but currently sitting at A because, yeah, just everything is going right for them. And my final team that's getting an A is the Orlando Magic, man. The Orlando Magic, they're currently 17-10, sitting at third in the East. I mean, not having your star player in Paolo Banchero, and then they won 12 of their next 13 games. Like, they are comfortably ahead in the top, sitting at the top of the East, not in the weird middle of the East. Like, they're comfortably sitting at the top of the East. Near the top of the East. Franz Wagner has been a star, but even with Franz Wagner going out, in the 2 games they played without Franz Wagner, they beat the Suns and they almost beat the Bucks. Like, they still have been competitive. This team has just built a great culture. Jalen Suggs has been really good. Goku Batate has been really good. The bench guys like Anthony Black, Mo Wagner have been getting some good minutes. Their defense, we know what they do. The defense has been on another level. Jamal Mosley has built an amazing culture over there. He has to get Coach of the Year credit. And yeah, the Magic, I mean, considering all the circumstances of not having your star player and getting better and still being comfortably near the top of the Eastern Conference, that's an A for me. So, A tier, we got Memphis, the Clips, and the Orlando Magic. Now we're going to the A minus tier. There's only one team so far in the NBA that has an A minus. They're not perfect. They're not been super good, but they still dang good in itself is an A minus, And that team is the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are sitting 7-19, 14th in the East. This is why they get an A minus. They came into this season with expectations. Masai Ujiri, everyone's saying, hey, we're not winning games this year. We don't want to win games. We want to develop the young talent, all that stuff. And so far this year, they have been doing that. RJ Barrett is looking like a star. Grady Dick has been very good. Some of the young guys, Jameson Battle has come out of nowhere. Now he's a rotational NBA player. And they've been doing tanking successfully. Successfully tanking in a sense where it's like they've been in every game. Every game they've had a run. They've taken great teams down to the wire. And in the last 5 minutes, they're like, all right, let's let our foot off the gas. We might be down 2 points or like 2 minutes left. All right, let's take the foot off the gas. Because we want to lose, which is the way to tank. If you're going to tank, be good, show some signs, and then be like, all right, now we're going to lose at the end. Not get blown out by 25 every game. At least give some confidence. So that's what they would do it. The only reason why they don't get a higher grade is because Scotty Barnes and Mayo Quickly have not been healthy this season. Mayo Quickly has only played in 3 games. Scotty Barnes just got re-injured. He's going to miss a couple more weeks, which is unfortunate that we can't see the full youth of this team really go out there and shine and do this. But with what they've had, they've been very, very competitive while successfully tanking, which is what their objective was. So that gets an A minus from me. Next, we're going to the B plus category. B plus, it's pretty good still. B plus. We got 4 teams in the B plus category. Our first team in the B plus is the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, they're currently 10-14, eighth in the Eastern Conference. They get a B plus for this reason. They get a B plus because they have been very competitive, a lot, probably 10 times more competitive than what anybody thought they were coming into this season. Jordy Fernandez has shown that he is a good coach and that he could be the coach of the future of this team. Their guys are playing their trade values up high. Dennis Schroeder is having a career year. Cam Johnson is having a career year. Cam Thomas has been very, very good. So they've shown things. They've been, again, very competitive. They got some wins over some good teams. They could have a gold mine at the trade deadline. Like, that's been good. The only reason why they're not higher is because they might be winning a little bit too much, in a sense of like there is no really incentive or reward for this team to be a playing team because they own their first round pick this year, which is not something they have for a little while. And getting a top 5 pick this year will be crucial for this team for the future, And they don't want to win. So right now they're not being bad enough, which is why they're getting a B plus. If they were bad, if they were like 7-15, like if they were like 7-18 or something like that, then they probably would have an A. But because they're winning a little bit too much, and right now they're currently like locked in a little bit to that playoff picture in the Eastern Conference, they get a lower grade because they're not supposed to be trying to win. But they've been doing so many things well this season, like it's been very good. So the Nets get a B plus from me. Next team getting a B plus is the Dallas Mavericks, 16-9, fourth in the West. They start off the year not great, but now they've been hot recently. They've been very good, showing the signs of being that team that made it to the NBA Finals last year. Kyrie's having a great season. Luka slowly starting to step it up a little bit. They began a lot from their other guys: PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, Quinn Grimes, Spencer Dinwiddie. They've all been contributing. Their defense has gotten a lot better. They've been beating some good teams, and they're good. The only reason why they're not higher is because they started the year off pretty bad, and it took a little while for them to really get going. But now they're starting to get going, and if they continue this the rest of the year, their grade is going to get a lot higher. So 16-9, they're fourth in the West. They're doing good. They get a B plus from me. Next team getting a B plus is the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are sitting 12-12. They're at 500. Very good. I didn't have very high expectations for the Spurs coming into the season. I thought they were going to be better than last year, but I did not expect them to be a playing team or anything like that. But right now, the way they're playing, they definitely could sneak into that plan. I mean, Wemby's having a really good second year after a tough start. It's been getting better. Chris Paul has been great. Better than what you could have expected. Harrison Barnes has been solid. Devin Vassell has been solid since coming back from injury. Kevin Johnson has been really good since coming into this bench role. They're good. They're getting a B plus. They're higher expectations. They're doing better than what I expected them to be. Some of their players are outperforming what I thought. Wemby's having a good year too. Things are going really well for them. They definitely could get higher as the season goes on. They haven't really had a point where they've hit a hot streak yet, or shown that they can consistently be this good. So the only thing holding them back from being like an A tier or anything like that is just like they have some injuries to their young guys. They've been very inconsistent a little bit throughout the season, but if they can find consistency, they can be a lot better. So they get a B plus. And the last team getting a B plus from me is the Portland Trailblazers. The Blazers, they're 8-16, 13th in the West. Honestly, they're a lot better than I expected. I thought they were gonna be god awful. Like I thought they were gonna be like maybe like 4-20 like to start this season. Like I did not have any. I thought they're going to be the punching bag of the Western Conference, but they're not. They're not good, but they're not bad. Horrible bad. They also get a B plus grade because their young players have been developing very, very well. Shaden Sharp since coming back from injury has been really good. Donovan Clingan looks very, very good. When the young players are playing, Danny Avdia has been solid. Scoot Henderson is getting better little by little. Toumani Kamara has been very, very good. So again, when they play all the young guys, they're fun. And they've actually won a lot of their games with the young guys in the rotation. So showing that they're also playing up the trade value. Robert Williams, trade value has been up. Jamie Grant, Anthony Simons has been solid. So they're having a nice season, compared to what I thought was going to be coming into this year. I'll give it a B plus. The young guys are playing well. They're developing. pretty good. I think the trade down is going to be a big indication of what the grade is for the end of the season will be for Portland. Because if they do sell and get some good things back, this could be a great season for the Blazers. You know, so we'll see what happens. So right now they get a B plus. So the 4 B+ teams we got the Nets, the Mavs, the Spurs, the Blazers. Next, we're going to the B tier category. This is the most stacked category. We have 7 teams that get a B. Just a solid, cool B. Not great, not bad, just like, all right, B. First team getting a B is the Atlanta Hawks. They're 14-12, sitting at 7th in the East. They're in the Final Four of the NBA Cup. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. They've been on fire recently. Getting some good things from their young guys. Jalen Johnson is having a really good season. Dyson Daniels is in the MIP conversation. DeAndre Hunter has been hot as recently. Kongwu showed some things. Their first overall pick, Zachary Sasha, has shown some things. So they're good. They are subject to get higher as the season goes on, depending on how this rest of the stretch goes. So right now, it's only a stretch. It's only a stretch. Before the stretch, they probably would have been like a C, because it was like, okay, it's okay. But now they're starting to get good. They're starting to get better. Their defense has gotten a lot better. Now, Trae Young is evolving as to be a elite tier playmaker, even though he already was. It's just getting better. So they're on a hot stretch right now, where they're looking like a pretty competent team in the East. They haven't raised up my rankings in the East in terms of like they're a contender now or anything like that. Nowhere near there, but they've had some good things go on for them. So they're going to be. We got to see how the rest of this goes to get a real sense of what this team is. But right now it's a B. Next team getting a B is the Chicago Bulls, 10-15, 10th in the East. Zach LaVine has been good. Nikola Vucevic is building his trade value up really high. Kobe White's had some good moments. Ayo Dosunmu's been decent. Josh Giddey has his games here or there. They've been shooting a lot of threes. They're fun. They're a lot more fun to watch than previous years. So that's a good. They still have to trade those guys to really get a full evaluation of what the season's going to be. They're not as bad maybe as a lot of fans want them to be, I guess. So they just get a B. They're having an all right season for the Bulls. So that's where they're going to get a B from. Next team getting a B is the Pistons. Pistons right now, they're 10-16. I wanted to put them higher, but the only thing stopping me from putting them at about B+, where I wanted to put them originally, is because they still sometimes look like the old Pistons. They still sometimes have games where it's like, bro, what are we doing here? Like, they still have a lot to improve on. They have looked a lot better and look like a lot more confident of a team, competent of a team than they were last year. Kate Cunningham is having an all-star type season. Jane Ivey has been really good. They've had some good things happen for them this season. They've had some winning, but the only thing stopping from putting them higher is because they still have those games once in a while where it's like, man, like they suck, you know. So yeah, but things have been better for them, so that's why they're gonna get a B. They're having a solid season. Next team getting a B is the Warriors, 14-10, 5th in the Western Conference. Started off the year amazing. They're number 1 in the West at one point at the season, but the last about 2 weeks they have fallen back down to earth, down to 5th. They were like 8th or 7th at one point. They jumped back up to 5. But yeah, it's just been not a roller coaster. It's just been I feel like it's been just a slow fall for them. Some teams been rapidly falling. It's just been a slow fall for them, where they start off good and now slowly we're starting to see the cracks in the wall, starting to see the cracks in the holes in this team. The flaws still being there. The depth has just not been as good, as it was to start the year. The defense is slowly coming down to earth. They're finally realizing, hey, we need a second star on this team with no Steph Curry. Some of their young guys, Brandon Pajemski has not had a really impressive second season. Jonathan Kuminga hasn't really had a pop off of a season like we expected him to have. They still are kind of relying on Steph to be Superman for them to win games. So they're the team we expect them to be. They caught people off guard the first month of the year. They caught people off guard. But now they're slowly starting to come back down to earth. And now throughout this next stretch of games, it's going to be really tough. We're really going to see what this team is about. But so right now they get a B for me. Next team getting a B is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks, they're 13-11, 6th in the Eastern Conference. They start off the year horrible. They're 2-8 to start the year. It was really, really, really bad. But now they've been better. I think they won 11 of their last 13 or something like that. They've been on fire. Giannis might be the MVP. up depending on who you are. Dame has been really good. The others have been starting to step up. The defense is getting better. So they're getting there. They're still not at the level that we want them to be for the Bucks. We got to see them do this for a little bit longer, and they need to have a better record and win a little bit more games, for me to really give them a better grade. But considering where they were to start the season, to now, that's a big improvement. So they're getting a B because it's still overall in the grand scheme of things for the Bucks. We want them to be their championship contenders, and they don't. They haven't been championship contenders this season, but they still have a decent record and still they're looking better by the day. So we're giving them a B. Next team getting a B is the New York Knicks. They're 15-10. They're fourth in the Eastern Conference. They've been good. Honestly, I like almost they're like right there at the B to B plus tier. Like they're right there. The only thing preventing me from putting them a lot higher is that they have a lot more flaws than expected. The depth isn't good, which we expected that. They still are a little bit injured, too. The defense has taken a big fall. So especially the last couple games I've watched, has just been the defense just has not been there, which is what their calling card was the last couple years. Now the defense isn't there. Mikal Bridges hasn't been as amazing of a piece as we expect him to be. But there still are some good things. Anthony Towns is playing amazing. Like, might be playing the best basketball of his career somehow. I don't know. Jalen Brunson has still been really good. OG has been good. The offense has been on another level. So you got that going for you. So like, they still get a B, and they still have a really good record and still are a good team in the Eastern Conference. So they still get a B. But it's been a B and not been higher because there's some things that we expected from this team that they're just not quite hitting, but they're not failing expectations either. So they're gonna get a solid B. And the last team getting a B is Utah Jazz. They're 5-20. Oh no, sorry, 5-18. 14th in the Western Conference. They get a B because they're trying to lose and they're trying to suck, and they're doing that very well. So we gotta give them a good grade for that for B. The only reason why they're not getting a higher grade is because the young talent hasn't really been super impressive. Walker Kessler is having a good bounce back in third year. Bryce Sensabaugh is doing his thing here and there. Colin Sexton has had him games here and there. But yeah, Keontae George is having a super impressive second season. Cody Williams has not been good at all as a rookie. Laurie Marketing isn't even having a really good season at all either. John Collins is doing his thing though. Shout out to John Collins doing his thing. But they get a B because they're supposed to be bad and they are bad. It just hasn't been the bad that they want to see. So B, I guess, was kind of like the default for them, was the B tier. So yeah, B tier teams: Hawks, Bulls, Pistons, Warriors, Bucks, Knicks, Jazz. Next, we got the B minus tier teams that aren't average, aren't having a season, but B minus just like, okay, you're a little bit better than expected, I guess. Whatever. Two teams in the B minus tier. First team we got is the Charlotte Hornets in B minus. They are 7-17, 13th in the Eastern Conference. LaMelo Ball has been phenomenal. LaMelo Ball has been a superstar this season. Just has been that. Brandon Miller has some good moments. You have some things here. Josh Green has been a solid piece. Musa Diabate has emerged as a good player. Tejan Solon, your first round pick, has some moments here and there. So Charles Lee looks like he's going to be a good coach for this team. So you got things there. But they're not higher because they still just aren't, they're still not good. I had a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of expectations for this team. I didn't expect them to be a playoff lock. I expect them to be a play-in mix type team, and right now they're not that. Well, I guess in the East, technically they are because the Eastern Conference and the bottom sucks, but they're still not good. Whenever LaMelo is off the court, it's horrible. Without LaMelo, they literally are nothing. Without LaMelo Ball, they still haven't really found besides LaMelo and Brandon Miller, they still have not found the real pieces to stick with this team yet. Like there's still a lot of work to do. Probably maybe a little bit more work than I expected this season. So they're gonna get a B minus just because they've been a fun watch. They've been a lot more fun to watch, which has been better over the last couple years. And LaMelo Ball is having such an amazing season. That they're proving to everybody, okay, yeah, LaMelo's our guy. LaMelo is the future, and Brandon Miller too. So they're gonna be minus. And then the other team getting a B minus is the Miami Heat. They are 13-10, fifth in the East. They are on a 4-game win streak, so things are starting to look better. But they still just don't really move me at all. You know, like Tyler Hero's been phenomenal. Tyler Hero, can't say any more about Tyler Hero. He's been phenomenal. He's been the best player by far for this team. But Bam is having a disappointing year. Jimmy has just been like whatever, and then now there's the whole Jimmy trade talk, which I might make a video about that tomorrow, maybe about the Jimmy Butler trade fiasco. Um, Terry Rozier's been bad. The depth has just been like, all right, whatever. You know, they still play kind of like a whatever. You know, some nights are gonna win gritty games, some nights are gonna get blown out. Like, it just still is kind of like, it's okay, I guess. They have been hot recently, and maybe this could be a stretch, which is why I'm putting them a little bit higher as a B minus, because they have been winning games recently and looking a lot better recently than before. So maybe this could be, you know, a jump start to something. So I'll give that a little bit of potential, which is why I put them in B minus tier. But they're just still kind of like, whatever, you know, to me at least. So B minus tier, we got Charlotte and Miami. Next, we're going to the C plus tier. Teams that are just, I guess C plus is average, you know, but they've been just kind of like, okay, you know, nothing really special, but not horrible. Just okay, whatever. C plus. You know, then we have three teams in this category. First team is the Lakers. The Lakers, they are 13-11, sitting at eighth in the West. They start off so hot, start off so good, and then they were streaky over the first couple games of the season. They were streaky, win three, lose two, win two, lose three, that type. But now they've just gone straight back to losing. They went on a losing streak, lost a couple pretty tough losses, games they shouldn't have lost, have looked not great recently. Anthony Davis, after having an MVP type star, has fallen back down to earth a little bit. Braun looks 40, looks like age is catching up to him. And then the rest of the roster just hasn't. We know it's not great, but it's really showing how not great it is. The defense has been horrible. The defense rating has plummeted this season. The 3 pointers still are not there. It just they're looking like the team that we thought they were going to be, that we knew they kind of were inside, but we didn't want to believe it because they had such a great start to the year. They're just not good enough. They just are not good enough at all, and they're finally showing that C plus. You know, they just it's an average Laker season in the last couple years, average Laker season, where it's just like high expectations, not hitting those expectations. Now what are we gonna do? You know, so the C plus. Next team getting a C plus is the Phoenix Suns. They are 12-11, 10th in the West. They're getting a C plus. Honestly, this was the toughest team to grade because I don't know what to grade them because when Kevin Durant is on the court, when Kevin Durant is playing, they're a great team. If Kevin Durant was here, they're an A team. They're getting an A grade. But without Kevin Durant, they suck so much that they get like a D rating. And that averaged out to I guess a C plus. Because it's like I just don't understand how Kevin Durant maybe we don't appreciate Kevin Durant as much as we should. It's like I don't know. Like Kevin Durant I think has only lost like one game with this team, one or two games. And without Kevin Durant, they've won like one or two games. So I just don't know. You take Kevin Durant out of this team and they're bad. Like I really don't know how to describe it. Without Kevin Durant, they suck. And right now they're going through it. 12-11, 10th in the West, in the play-in right now after having such a great start to the year. It just averages out I guess to a C plus where it's like you do great to start and then you do bad to finish, averages out to being meh. And that's what I guess that's why the Suns get a C plus grade because they just average out to eh, I guess. So we gotta wait to see if Kevin Durant comes back and maybe they shoot back up, you know. But yeah, so they get a C plus. And the last team getting a C plus is the Washington Wizards, 3-19, worst record in the league. They get a C plus. Okay, they get a good C plus as a good rating, even though the worst team in the league, because they're trying to suck. They're trying to be bad. They're trying to go out and get Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper. They're trying to get a good pick. And dang it, they're doing that. They're trying their hardest. They're doing everything they can to get the highest odds at the number one overall pick. So they're supposed to be bad, and they're being very, very bad, which is what they want. But they don't get as good a rating as a team like the Jazz or a team like the Blazers or a team like the Raptors because the young talent hasn't been amazing. Like Jordan Poole is having a really good season. You know, you got seen some things with Bud Carrington, you know. But after that, like Bilal Coulibaly was great in the first like 2 weeks, and now he's fallen off. Alex Sarr has not had a great rookie season. Kyle Kuzma looks really bad, and now his trade value is kind of plummeting to a point where, like, do we even trade him? Can we even trade him now? You know, like he's been kind of detrimental to this team, and also they are losing, but it hasn't been successful, confident losing. It's been like we're losing by 23 every game. Which is not like you're gonna lose like this and you're a bad team, a young team that's trying to be bad. Do it like the Raptor. Do it like at least be competitive. At least be in the game in the last 5 minutes. Be like, all right, now we're gonna lose. Or maybe lose by 8. Like I think maybe every loss except for like one or two of them have been by double figures. You know? Like they've been losing by like 17, 18, 20, 22. Like it hasn't even been like really close losses, which is not a confidence builder to some of these young players. So that's why they get a C plus because they're executing what they're trying to do, which is tanking, but they're not doing it in the best way that they could be doing it. So that's why they're gonna get a C plus. So C plus teams, we got Lakers, Suns, Wizards. Next, we're going to teams to the C tier. Teams that have been just meh this year. And these are three teams that had expectations for them this season. First team getting a C is the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are currently 12 and 10, seventh in the Western Conference. They get a C. Nikola Jokic right now is the MVP, is my MVP personally, is on track to win a fourth MVP. Everything else around this team is bad. They do not look like the contender that we thought they were going to be. Jamal Murray, I don't know where he is right now. The guy that I'm watching on the court is not Jamal Murray. I don't know who this is. This is not Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. has been better. Aaron Gordon has been okay. Christian Brown is having a good season. He just, he's not going to provide you what KCP provided you, which is perfect. The depth on this team is bad. Shout out to Russell Westbrook because he's been good, but after that, the depth has just been horrible. Nikola Jokic literally cannot sit with this team because if he does, they're gonna lose. If they do, they could be up by 20. When he comes back in, it's gonna be like a 4 point game. Like the depth is just bad. The defense over the last like week or two has been just horrible. The defense has been horrible recently, and they just don't look like a contender at all. Literally, the only way they can win games is Jokic dropping like 36, 15, and 12. Like that's what he's had to do this season. And it's been awesome to see. It's been crazy to see Jokic do this. But can they sustain this for an entire year? Having Jokic having to do this just to make it to the playoffs is like, I don't know if they can do that. And they're sure as heck not winning a series against the Thunder, series against the Mavericks, series against some of these teams playing like this, where it's literally Jokic having to do everything on the court and no one else showing up with him. So yeah, they get a C tier. They get a C grade because man, it's been it's really been the Jokic show at all the entire season. Next team getting a C is the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are currently 12 and 11, ninth in the Western Conference. Um, they just have not been as great either. Had high expectations coming into the season, obviously after a conference finals run last year. Made the big trade to send Cat for Julius Randle without DiVincenzo, and they just don't look like the same Timberwolves team this year. They don't look the same. The defense has not been as good, which is what they were elite at last year. This year has not been good. The shooting has not been there. Some of the guys like Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo have not been hitting expectations. Julius Randle has been fine. Rudy Gobert hasn't been the same. And this does not look like the same Minnesota Timberwolves team that we loved last year. It doesn't. It looks nowhere near that team. And being a contender in the West, supposed to be a contender in the West, they're just not hitting that expectation at all. Right now they're sitting comfortably in the play-in. So it's really tough to watch this Timberwolves team. I mean, they've been better recently. They've won a couple games. Things have been going a little bit better. So maybe this could be a turning point. Hopefully it is. But right now it's just they're gonna see because it's just been like it's been tough. Last team getting a C is the Sacramento Kings. They are 13 and 13, 12th in the West. They just, they're it's weird because if you look at all their numbers, they look like they should be a decent team. But you watch them, and you're like, man, they lose a lot of games they shouldn't lose to. They cannot get a stop in the last couple minutes, even though they have a good defensive rating, considering all things. When it comes to clutch scenarios, they cannot stop anybody. The offense has been just kind of eh. Some of the guys, Keegan Murray's not having a good third year. Kevin Huerter's still trying to find his shot. Malik Monk has to start now because the depth has been so bad. DeMar's missed a couple games. it's just it hasn't been great at all for this Kings team, and they're kind of just stuck in the middle of the West, where it's like they're not going to be contenders, but they're not going to be bad. They're just going to be kind of like around, I guess. Make a play-in, maybe miss out on the play-in by a game or two, I guess. That's just what this Kings team is right now, and they're just average. So they get a C. So the three teams getting a C: Denver, Minnesota, Sacramento. Now we're jumping to the D tier. Teams that have just been bad, really below expectations this year. Got two teams in here. First team we're going to Indiana Pacers. Pacers right now, they are 10 and 15, ninth in the East. Made the conference finals last year, and they just look. This looks like a completely different team. I don't know what team I'm watching, but it's not the Indiana Pacers, because I don't know what this team is. The pace has not been there. The offense they were excelled at last year now just looks whatever. Tyrese Halliburton has not been great this season. They've had a lot of injuries. No one has really set out or stepped up this year. They just look bad. Thank God they're in the East. Because if they're in the West, they would be, man, it would be tough. But right now they're still in the play-in, even though they're 5 games under 500. But it's been bad for the Indiana. They just have not been able to find that secret sauce that they had last year that made them so good. Team again, they made the conference finals, that had expectations coming into the season on themselves, and they're failing all of them. They're failing all those expectations, and it's just like, man, where do they go from here? Is a big trade gonna have to be made? I think maybe. I think that's the only way you really salvage this, unless you find that offensive rhythm again. And Tyrese Halliburton maybe finds a shot, or you find that offensive rhythm again, maybe. But it's gonna be really tough. Really, it's gonna be really tough. So they get a D because it's been bad for Indiana. It really has been bad. And the other team getting a D, the Philadelphia 76ers, 7 and 15, 12th in the East. They've also just not met any expectations at all. Joel Embiid has only played about like 6, 7 games this year. Paul George has missed time. Tyrese Maxey's missed time. Some of the guys that they signed to try and help this team have just not been as good as expected. They started off really bad. Jaron McCain has been their most consistent and best player as a rookie, which has not been good. I mean, he's probably going to rookie of the year, so you got something. But yeah, but the reason why this is an F and things could turn around is because they've won 4 of their last 5 games. Again, they're in the East, so they can win like 2 or 3 games and be back in the play-in. And maybe this could be the turn. Maybe things can start turning around. They always have that kind of leeway, I guess, because they have such a good roster that you have to think at some point they're going to start putting it together and winning some games, which they have been recently. So things could be turning a little bit in Philly, but they still get a D grade because obviously they just not met any expectations this season so far throughout the first quarter. So right now for D tier, Indiana, Philly. And finally, F grade. We have one team that is failing this season. Failing. Not even D. Failed. They got an F. The New Orleans Pelicans. 5 and 21. Blast in the West. There's nothing really good. There's nothing salvageable. Nothing about this season right now for the Pelicans, really, man. There's nothing. You know, injuries have just been killing them. Like, the injury slider's on 100 for them. Everybody has missed some games this season for them. They've had to sign guys off the street to play. Alfred Payne got signed and played 10 hours later as a starting point guard. It's been rough. We don't know when Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram are going to come back at all, if they do come back at all. Even when they are playing recently, like DeJounte and CJ, they have not looked good either. Still, they are they're like 7 games, 8 games out of the play-in. To even make it back to the play-in, they're gonna have to win like 10 of their next 12 and go on a big streak. So who knows to even get farther than that. So it's been all bad. There's nothing really good to say about this Pelicans team this year. I made a whole video about them like a week or two ago, so you can go back and check that for my full on like talk about them. But it's just like, man, where do they go from here? Like, honestly, they might have to entertain trading off some of their pieces and rebuilding this team. Like, I really just don't know what you do if you're David Griffin right now. But they get an F. They failed this season. And yeah, CBF today. Let me know down below in the comments some of your grades for your favorite teams or any other teams, stuff like that. I'd love to know them. Once again, if you like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications, doing all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it a whole lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.